In this video, we're going to talk about the table element from ElementsKit for Elementor, which allows you to create tables within Elementor. Large businesses who often have to produce something in tables and columns, this is a great element to have. There's a little bit of a learning curve, and I'm going to show you in a few simple steps how you can create a table. This is a very simple one that I've done, but you can make it much larger and far more complex than this one. Let's get into that. Goeiemorgen, good morning, and good afternoon, good evening, and a good wherever you are. My name is JP. This is Websites for Beginners, and we are looking at ElementsKit for Elementor in this series. And in this video, we're looking at the table element. Talk about complex, right? So here you have a very good example of what this table can do, and they have a few examples on their website. If you want to know more about ElementsKit, follow the link in the description below. The question for me, always when we come to tables, is how will this look on a tablet and a mobile? And many of the elements that I've worked with, I often just put them as disabled or invisible when it comes to mobile devices because they don't work well. But I do think ElementsKit has come up with a solution to make it responsive, a good way to make sure that it works. So the one that I just showed you that I created, if I go to a responsive view, here I have tablet on the right, and then I have an iPhone 14. It's breaking into a second line. You can see the table still looks fine. But where it gets interesting is when you go to really tiny displays. This is a Galaxy S8. And what it does, it now breaks that fourth column, the interior, exterior, but it adds this little plus. So once I click on it, it gives it in this format. I think that's a good solution. I really do think it. So if you have more than, I've got 4 columns, you may have 6 columns, then it will give you this unfurling option and then list the rest of it. And that is a very good way to work with this. Let's go into Elementor and work with the table element. It's not turned on by default, so you will have to go and turn it on in the ElementsKit. I will just create a new one here. And one thing I want to note. What's great about ElementsKit is they have a template library where you can find nice ones to work with. You go to sections and then you look here, but I couldn't find the table element here. So they don't give you pre-made table element because this, you will see in a short while, you really need to build out from scratch with what you want to do. I'll close this. Let's look for table under our widgets. Table. And then there we go. This one with the EKIT, cannot see that far, and click, hold and drag, and I'll just create a new section. This is how it comes in. Let's have a look on the left. We have table, and that is actually the header area. The second one is that we have body content. That is the information inside, and then the table settings. This one is the easiest of them all. So I will go and unfill this one and then give it a title. I'll just call it product, the product I want to show. And you can add an icon to this and change the text color on an individual basis if you want to. If you want to do it globally, you go to style. Next to product, I will change and call this one size. And this one I call color. And for a new one, I'll add item, and I will say if it's an exterior or interior. And what am I talking about? My website is actually a pottery website. So this dude, he makes these pots for you to buy. Great WooCommerce site, ready-made, pre-made template with Blocksy theme. I think it's an awesome, professional, modern, yet minimalistic site that can draw in customers so easily. If you would like to test this out, check the link in the description below for Blocksy. Absolutely stunning. Come pre-made, you can just switch around and change out your content and colors. Back to where we were. And that's why I have exterior or interior so that the pot can be used inside the house or outside or maybe both. For items here, I can add more. Let's add one more and I will say in stock. Yes, in stock. And the only thing I will do is go to header alignment. This is global, and I'll put them all to the left. You have that control for center or to the right. Now we come to the tricky part, the body content. Let's delete and start at the very top. So the first one is going to be your column, your row. The first one is going to be your row. And you will have to call the first one, you can see it is there, the product, and I'll call this vase 001 or pot 001. And then you will notice it says new row and it's on because that's how it came in. If I duplicate this now and I go to rows vase 2, you will see I create a second row. So every time this little blue box is activated next to new row, you create a new row like you can see here. But I also want these columns. And to do that, let's create one more, a third one, and I'll call this one number 3, vase number 3. So we have these vases and we have 3 of them. Now, how do I fill out the rest of the columns? And once you figure this one out, it's easy peasy. So go back to the first row and duplicate it so you can see we have now vase 1 and vase 1. And in your item list, you go to the second one and you deactivate this option new row. And you will see it jumps into the column. Now I can change out the text. And you can see here we have actually a text box so you can add far more information. I'm going to call this small. And you will see, there we go. Now, when I duplicate this, it's going to give me small, but it'll put it in the next column. And that's how you're going to work. This one color is white. We duplicate, that is exterior or interior. Make sure you select the second one. I'll say both. And then duplicate, and I'll go to both, and I'll say available. Available. And we created the first row with the information. Let's align it now, because it just looks better once we do that. Everything is starting to create harmony in our lives. It would have been so cool if we could have grouped all of this and then duplicated everything and just changed it out. That's not the way this works. So what I'll do, I'll go to row vase 2. I'll duplicate that one. And it creates a second row because we have that active for next row. Select the second item that's duplicate and deactivate new row. And how you are going to go about spacing this all out will be up to you. I found this is the easiest way for me. But once you understand how the new row function works, you kind of figure it out quickly. Let's say the size here is large. And I'll duplicate it now 3 times. Large, large, large. And now I've filled out everything. So you see, I quickly filled them all out. And now I can just go in to the next large and color here, I'll brown. And this one is interior. And no stock available for this one. And then the final one, let's do that. First, I'll deactivate the new row. And then we have 1, 2, 3. Go to vase here, and we call this size medium. And our color will be beige, beige. And this one, we will make it exterior. You can use it in your garden, and it's in stock, so available. Available. And we've created the table. Let's talk about everything else that's going on here. Below this is the table settings, and things can get a little bit overwhelming in this regard because there's a lot going on, and unfortunately, they're all over the place. So starting at the top, display serial number, you can activate that, and then it gives you these numbers. So they actually sequentially follow 1, 2, 3. If you want to have a serial number, and you can add the number there for the serial number header text, you see number. If you want that, yes or no. Second option you have is whether you want the search bar up there, yes or no. And then do you want a fixed header? It stays there or not. Your ordering, these will be removed. And you have responsiveness, which is on by default. And I think really leave it on. I've added this extra column here. So let's have a look now, save, and go to our responsive view to see how this will look. And that's why I will recommend you leave this on. reload. And now we have this extra column here at the bottom, and we scroll down and you see this time, even on the bigger phone display, we have the little plus. And if I unfurl it, we have this extra column. On the smaller phone, we're going to have 2 items listed. Very smartly done. I appreciate that. And that's why I would recommend that the responsiveness, you leave it on. If I deactivate it, publish, let's see. And now, you see, this is what happens. Things get a little bit weird. And that's what the fixed header is all about. It goes off screen. So responsiveness is a definite yes. Do you want pagination? In this case, I barely have 4 items, not even. So I don't need pagination. So I can switch it off, or you leave it on for your pagination. And then you have your search icon. You have your arrows that you can add here. You have your text for previous. And then lastly is this part here. You have the info section here. It took me a while to understand. This, what it means is show 10 entries, right? So even though my cursor activates there, it doesn't mean it's something clickable. What is clickable is this option here. How many do you want to show? You can show 10 entries at a time, 25, 50, and 100. And depending on what you select here will determine how many pages and when the pages will break and the pagination will be applied. So we start here with info. If I uncheck the info, the bottom part here disappears. Now that I'm going to activate it, you'll see, oh, there's something here in the bottom left corner. It says showing 1, 2, 3 of 3 entries. And the text that you can use for that is already here. If you want to change it out, you just keep those words start, end, and total, because those are your dynamic values that will bring in your table values. The same for your entries. Now, interesting thing happens when you deactivate the entries, it gives you another option. It gives you this option that whether you want to copy the data, export it to Excel or CSV. That's also interesting. And they label this as a button, right? If you don't want that, you also deselect it, and that will be removed. And if you only want the table, now you move to the top where the search option is, deactivate it, and you get only to the table. And then we can deactivate pagination, and we can go and deactivate at the bottom info. And now you purely have a table. So if you only want the table, you need to do a lot of deactivation. I'll also deactivate ordering, and now we have our simple table. The last thing you will want to do is style it out. You have styling for everything. And these ones that I just deactivated, they will have their separate styling options as well. And they will appear here the moment that you activate them. For me, I like the text. I want to keep my table as simple as possible. And the only thing I will change is going to the header area, and I will change the background to a color that fits my style. I'll go to the color here, grab my color sampler, and let's sample a different color this time. Oh, I like this blue. Yes, this one over here. I'll select that. Let's go have a look at the bottom, how that looks. Nice. And it fits on my pottery website. What I really like about this table is they really thought about the solution for responsiveness. Great table element from ElementsKit for Elementor if you need to display things in a format with columns and rows, and also a solution for responsive devices. A small learning curve here, but you can master the table from ElementsKit. From me, JB, hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next video here at Websites for Beginners.